Hey everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you are tuned into the review of Married at First Sight, Season 10, Episode 14. Okay. I each week, you guys, I'm struggling, and I know you are too. So thank you for continuing to watch these reviews and watch the show with me, so I have people to talk about it with, because this is by far the absolute worst season. Just in so many ways. My husband and I were talking about it last night. It's awful, but I am committed, so I'm going to continue to review it. So let's just jump right in. Last night's episode, they had a couples retreat that is comprised of the last night's episode and the episode coming up, where the couples go together. I think they've done it a couple of seasons now, where they go together. They're in one location and they cook and they do activities together, and then they do stuff, isolated couples and spending time to get to know each other and stuff like that, because I think they're about 8 days away from decision day. So that is pretty much the episode in a nutshell. They really drug out, once again, 2 hours of content with these couples. So let's just jump in. Before I get started, don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be the first to find out when I post these videos, as well as other new content that I will be posting very soon. All right, so the first couple is Brandon and Taylor. Brandon and Taylor, okay, two reviews ago, I said I did not want to see them on my screen, and I thought that they would not be on my screen, and they came back last week, and they had this storybook romance episode, and I told you guys I wasn't buying it, because it just felt completely fabricated. And because they're foundational issues, like what I said was they're building a house on quicksand, because neither one has really taken accountability for things. They haven't owned up to things. They're still pissed about them, to be honest. So this thing that happened last episode I was not into, and this week it reared its ugly head. I knew that it was just a matter of time before they got explosive again, because they don't know how to communicate. Neither one is ready to be married. Taylor doesn't take accountability. Brandon doesn't know how to communicate when he's feeling a certain type of way. What happened this episode was there was a lot that happened with them. But long story short, she ended up going out, Taylor ended up going out and fell asleep at a friend's hotel room. Who this friend is, I don't know. Came back the next morning. He was really, really upset, but didn't say it. He just, and that's the problem, okay? So I think it's completely awful that she did that. Like, you don't have respect for your marriage if you go somewhere and you fall asleep, unless you're like heavily inebriated, or if you're taking drugs. There's got to be a reason that makes sense why this person was not thinking logically enough to do the right thing. If you're going out with friends and the story was, oh, he's going to work, so I'll go out with friends, and so on and so forth. If you respect your spouse enough, you would never get to a point where you're comfortable enough to fall asleep somewhere. That sounds so college to me. It sounds very collegiate. Oh, like I went to my friend's house and I fell asleep. Taylor's not ready to be a wife. He's not ready to be a husband for various reasons. So that was completely inappropriate on her end. You got comfortable enough to just fall asleep wherever you were with whomever you were. Brandon does not communicate. He was waiting for the retreat to address the situation, but that's not how real life works. And the thing with this experiment is it is real life in the sense that they are legally wed, but there are all these various factors that is not really reflective of real courtship. Even marriages that on mostly Eastern culture does these marriages that are arranged, there's still a completely different foundation that creates more of a structure and stability and the possibility for a long-lasting marriage than what we're seeing here. So there are a lot of things that don't support this happening long-term, even though that's the goal. But Brandon, he was waiting for the retreat to talk about it, and he needed to just address it, nip it in the bud. let's talk about it. Let's say, this is how I felt about it. This is inappropriate. This doesn't make me comfortable. Who were you with? All of these things. Instead, he gets quiet. He gets very moody. He puts his headphones on in the car. You know, both him and Michael have very like effeminate responses to things. And not all women act this way, but I think women, naturally, we tend to be a little more moody. Sometimes we're more emotional depending on the situation. And we tend to, you know, how many times is the running joke your man having to guess what you feel because it's just like, I'm fine. You know, like we tend to do that more. Even if we don't do it all the time, even if we don't do that, we tend to be the ones that do that more. Brandon, as well as Michael, which I'll get to, have that characteristic. So it doesn't bring for leadership, you know, it doesn't bring for cohesion if somebody's looking for that person to do that in the marriage. And they pretty much, you know, disrespect each other at this retreat. They get there, the ride there is cold. Taylor doesn't have a clue. I mean, you're inappropriate. I fell asleep with friends. It's just not good enough. And she just hopes it goes away. No accountability, just, which is like what she's been doing. And they blow up at each other, you know. They don't really sit next to each other for dinner. She's trying to get him to take a shot. He has to go to work the next day. Nothing about them works. And they should have been like Mindy and Zach and have not come back. And the more they blow up, basically, she goes off on him. He basically brings something up about some posts on social media. Once again, it's these same issues, reoccurring issues that come up for them, and they get really upset. Brandon is trying to leave. Brandon gets really nasty, which is where you can see like what his real characteristics are. Taylor closes herself in the bathroom with him, which I thought was dangerous because you don't know people. And I don't know that he could have done something to her, but I don't know that he could have not. And Taylor really gave me I want to be on TV by any means necessary last night. Everybody has been talking about that, but like, Taylor, there's no reason for you to still be there because Brandon ended up leaving the next day. Brandon was completely disrespectful to the producer. He was very vile and nasty, very circa Panama, and it brings itself back, you know, because he has no coping skills. And she stayed. She stayed the rest of the, allegedly Brandon was going to come back. We all know he wasn't going to come back. And she's just trying to talk to him. She's very unauthentic. You know, I want to make this work. Do you? You just said that you're over it and you're done and you don't want to make it work. You just want to continue to be on TV for whatever reason, and I don't want to see you. And you brought the wig back, so I'm even more upset about that. I don't want to see her anymore. But she ended up staying the rest of the week for this retreat. It's not like he had an emergency and he had to leave, so you stayed. Your reason for being there is no longer a reason. So I don't know what next week looks like because, like I always say, I don't watch the previews, but Brandon and Taylor are a done deal. Waste of time. If there's anything that we can learn from them is that if you find characteristics, because I really want to put a bow on them and shove them in the back of the closet, if you find any characteristics of them that you reflect, then you know how that could end up in a relationship. If you find that you struggle to communicate yourself in a way where you pretend that everything's fine, which a lot of people do, then you see how that can manifest into a dysfunctional relationship. If you find that you don't take accountability and you kind of want to move past things and you don't want to apologize, then you find how that manifests in a dysfunctional way in a relationship. So from Taylor and Brandon, we can learn what not to do. So that's Taylor and Brandon. Next we have Michael and Mika. Once again, and I say this, that's why I said that I think this is one of the worst seasons because I don't think, only people I think were matched well. And there are various reasons because there's been a lot of chatter about people being approached and paid and not really having the same desire to be on for the right reasons. But I think Michael and Mika are poorly matched. You know, Michael, I don't know. Okay, they both have their issues, but what I saw last night was Mika really trying. You know, she was in the car on the drive there, really communicating with him, asking him questions even though he was barely answering, continuing to express herself. She was trying, okay? Mika was trying. Michael was not. And he was upset because, and he had mentioned this to Brandon, and here's the other thing, like, talk to your wife about it. She's asking you questions. You guys say that you're both here for the marriage, and they keep saying that. And I just want to turn the radio off. I don't want to hear that song anymore because I don't know what you guys are here for. It's not for each other, though. I think it's just to say that I didn't quit. But I don't think they even like each other. I don't think they have a couple's chemistry. So it's hard to watch them because it's like there's nothing there to see. He mentioned to Brandon that he was kind of having an emotional moment, talking about his mom, and his wife just sat there and wasn't really comforting. And I get that, except Michael, you lie all the time. You've been lying since the beginning. So once again, like, to expect her to fawn all over you, yeah, I'm sure you wanted her to be warmer, but to expect her to fawn all over you in that moment when the reason why you guys are talking about this, and it always has to be a third party. It could never be just him being honest and you getting to the crux of whatever's going on, is because you've been lying this whole time. So if you're treating somebody who, like, not that great, you're not going to get the warm and fuzzies. First of all, Mika isn't warm and fuzzy, okay? We see her light up around the girls, so she has the capacity to be. She isn't warm and fuzzy, but I think this vulnerability that Michael has been wanting for her or from her could be prompted by him being honest and just a good guy. And he seems nice, but you don't, if he says it's raining outside, you need to open the blinds up and check it out. Even if you can hear the thunder and the rain, you need to check it out because it's probably Michael's sound machine. We can't trust anything he says. So, I mean, I get it, but I feel like you haven't even earned that vulnerability. You really haven't. But Michael shuts down. He is not trying. And my thing is, if you're not trying and you don't want to be there, then just don't be there. But don't sit there and act all moody and just like be one-worded. And, she's saying, well, I feel like you've checked out and blah, blah, blah. Yep, things are correct. What you're saying is correct. Or whatever he said that was so like robotic. It was gross. It was gross. And then he doesn't express how he's feeling. If you're really fighting for the marriage, express how he's feeling. She felt so, I guess, like removed from him that she asked not to sleep in the bed with him. She said, you know what, let's not pretend. So I think we should sleep in separate rooms. And that's a rule if you're a couple. It's very, very few times that should happen. You need to go to bed pissed off. A lot of people say, don't go to bed angry. Yeah. You should try not to, okay? I do believe you should try not to. I do believe you should communicate that. I don't think that will always happen 100% of the time. I think that maybe sometimes the smarter thing might be to put a lid on it right now, sleep on it, and then circle back. So the idea is beautiful. Does it happen 100% of the time? No. It should happen most of the time. But it shouldn't be something that's habitual where you're upset and you're like, okay, I gotta go. Because that's what is reflective of marriage. Staying when you don't feel like staying, being there when you don't really like the person. You might love them, but you don't like them at the moment. So it's not right that she did that. But once again, maybe that was her way of trying to see, well, she probably was really upset. But Michael, it's like Coolio. Shrugs. Okay. Well, if I'm trying to talk to you in the car and trying to engage you and ask you questions and telling you what I want out of the weekend, and you're giving me nothing and you're basically confirming that you've checked out, and then I tell you this and you're like, Coolio, how would I know that you even care? But then in the confessional, he says, here we go again, and she asked me to leave, and I don't think it. So you had a problem with it. Communicate. Stop being so, I don't know. I really don't know the right word to say. So, and I don't want to say the wrong one. So I'm not going to say it, but he is a moody little thing. And so is Brandon. And it's just, most people are not going to be, most women wouldn't take that seriously because it's just too much petty energy, and that just doesn't work. And if you want to be the leader, sometimes you have to lead. Sometimes one person has to compromise, or one person has to be big enough to say, you know what, no, we're not going to do that, or I know that you don't want to do that. But they both have done it. She requested sleeping in a separate room. He took his ring off day 2 or something. So they're not equally yoked at all. And he ends up leaving and going to take care of something for a possible funeral, and none of it adds up. It's like you just don't want to say, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's definite. But, maybe it was the way that they filmed it, but the whole table did a round robin of how this story's not adding up. And to be honest, I checked out because I was like, here we go again. Here we go. It's some, if Michael says anything, now we gotta dissect it because it just doesn't feel right. And they don't do that to anybody else. But why don't they do that to anybody else? And the moment, and I've always noticed, the moment that Michael has to explain himself, he automatically, his whole affect, being presentation and body language and tone, everything changes when he has to explain himself. Everything. It's either uncomfortable because he's really, really thinking, even with something fun, like when he presented her with her 1-month anniversary gift. I mean, he was like thinking, what are you thinking about? What is the gift? Did you get a gift or not? So I'm kind of tired of that roller coaster as well. We'll see how it goes. I mean, he showed back up to the house. I don't really remember anything else about them. He showed back up, so they're still showing back up, and I know that that's like a good thing, I guess, but if Mindy allowed it, Zach would still be showing back up, so really, what does it mean? So that is that is Michael and Mika. Next we have Katie and Derek. I have never shaken my head at almost every couple in every season, but this is that season. Poor Derek, there's a lot going on in this relationship. Katie's insecurity is going to be the death of their marriage. If they make it to decision day, which I think they'll make it to decision day. If they make it past decision day, I don't see long term for them. Not because they don't have the capability, but because Katie's insecurity and all of her baggage is going to eviscerate the possibility of a great marriage with somebody great. Her insecurity, she still can't let go of this poem that he wrote in high school. I mean, girl, I am so tired of her. I really am. She needs a therapist. The therapist needs a therapist, which I think that, I think everybody needs a therapist. So hell, I could use a therapist, but she has no self-awareness. I mean, to be in the mental health field and to have zero self-awareness, it's mind-boggling. Like, just none. I don't expect 100% because we're people, okay? So if we're emotionally invested, then sometimes we can't see either. But she has zero self-awareness. She's willing to make zero changes. I mean, in Katie's world, she's perfect. She knows everything. And she really has a lot of issues. To be somebody who's so experienced, she's also, what she thinks is a strength is actually very damaging. She's like damaged goods, and I hate to say that, but she's bringing her damaged, dysfunctional history to this person who doesn't have that much of a history, and she thinks that there's some hierarchy because she has been in relationships that she knows more and she's better and she's all of these things, but he's better, even with what little experience he has, because at least he has fresh eyes on it. And he's approaching things differently and he's trying. And one thing that stuck out to me, because when they were having dinner and most of the couples were in there talking and stuff, he was sitting next to Taylor, and Katie stormed off twice, and she was like super rude to Derek when he went behind her the second time. The first time he should have gone behind her too. If you see your spouse storm off, everybody shouldn't go except for you. But second time he went out there, he's talking about, she calls him like, why are you so, comfortable with everyone else and not with me? And he basically says, it's because I can't be myself around you, which is a really big deal, because she sees his interaction with Taylor and how goofy they are and they're having so much fun. I actually looked at my husband and I was like, they should have hooked Taylor and Derek up, because I could actually see it working. They seem to have more of a jovial, fun friendship, which is important in a marriage, than Katie and Derek. Like, Katie basically counts all the ways that Derek doesn't measure up. And he can't be himself. He tries, and yes, he has some of his own issues, but he tries and it's not good enough. So he's not being himself. And that's like a big red flag, that he feels like he can't be himself. He's like more fun and free, and she is stuck up and reserved, and she's a know-it-all. And so he probably conforms to her. And so, you know, she yells out that why are you like a loser and a weirdo with me, but not with other people? Well, maybe he's just matching your energy, because if you're liking what you're seeing with other people, for you, based on what you're saying you want, that wouldn't work, you know? So that was, watching them was really upset for her, and she got all jealous, and they ended up doing this activity. I don't even remember. I really don't remember what they did. I just remember them riding on a golf cart. Hello, pregnancy brain. But one thing that she said on that golf cart that really stuck out, I think he stole something like very whatever. And he's like trying to bring out his bad boy side so that she can see that he's a bad boy. She said a few things that really bothered me. This bad boy side that she's looking for is so dysfunctional, because all the bad boys you did, go ahead and go back to your bad boys. What did they give you? They gave you nothing, to the point where you had to sign up for an experiment for somebody to marry you. That's what they gave you. This desire to have this bad boy, and that this guy who is, listen, like long lasting marriages they're not comprised of bad boys, okay? A bad boy does bad things. Okay, you want Derek, who wants to please you, who puts you on his insurance 1 month in, who gives you your diabetic shots the second night or the first night, who's trying, who's willing to be taught. You want that. Your bad boys have gotten you nowhere. And the second red flag that she said, which is just like, that's what I'm just like, what kind of therapist are you? Because I can't imagine saying those words. Her saying that they actually get along better after they fight. And then she's laughing and saying, like, what's wrong with us? Like, we get along so much better after we fight. I felt like alarms were going off in my head, like the long, loud fire alarm. Like, get out of here. Because that is one of the most dysfunctional things that you will like say, and now you'll look for that. Okay, if we're doing too good and we're stable and if we're not arguing, maybe we need to argue. Katie, oh my God, I don't have much more to say about her. I don't think it's gonna work out. I had high hopes for them at the beginning. You know, they started to get into their little whatevers, and I said, okay, you know, I mean, there's still possibility if they work on this, if they work on that, but there's a lot of work to be done there. And I think that, you know, it's like, if you remember cartoons back in the day, where the cartoon is like pulling stuff out of the box and it's this never ending stuff, for everything that she finds and she throws out, she will find another thing. And now she has validated that being a positive association, so she'll continue to find things, because we need to continue to fight so that this relationship can work. That's it. That's it on Katie and Derek. I'm done. Next we have, who else do we have? So we did Katie. Okay. Oh, we don't have Zach and Mindy anymore. I'm like, okay, there's 5. Zach and Mindy, bye. Bye, girl. Last we have Jessica and Austin. So Jessica and Austin, man, they're the reason why my blood pressure is stable. The only reason. I mean, they're the sweet spot. I enjoy watching them. You know, their little Abercrombie and Fitch long advertisement, which is the whole episode for them. They're sweet. You know, they touch on the love thing during dinner, and I keep saying it. I love that Austin stands his ground. Do not push this man into saying it. And he basically says, which at least I know that Austin loves her at this point. I just think he's not ready to say it. But he even says something like, it's not a matter of feeling it, it's a matter of being ready to say it, or something along the lines that basically is reflective of the fact that he does love her. He's just back off, which I get it, like, back off. But other than that, they have such a sweet time. They go on this beautiful date. I just enjoy watching them. And it's just like, this is what the experiment was designed for. It's actually match people who want to be together, who want to be married, who are like working through whatever little things they have going on. You know, she was talking to, I think, Katie about his work schedule. Yeah, there are nuances. There are things that are annoying, things you don't like, but they are like the steady. They're like the steady calm in the storm right now, in the literal storm of the chaos that is everyone. They are just like a pleasure to watch. So there's not much to say about them. You know, I think that I would not be surprised if Austin said that he loved her like on decision day, like right before he either says he wants to stay with her, which I think he does, or right after. Like, I think that might be how he does it, if he does it. Either way, though, I mean, what a good problem to have. When is he going to profess his love, because we know he loves her, versus this entire train wreck of everybody else. So that's it. Let me know what you guys thought. As always, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like, and I will see you guys next week. Everyone have a great week and stay safe.